Meeting of April 22nd. So the first action item is that we have Linda Daly and Rob Renault calling in. So I need a motion to allow them to attend remotely. Ms. Coates and Ms. Blair, Dr. Blair. All in favor with the sign of aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, so Ms. Daly and Mr. Renault, you are now in the meeting. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right. The next action item would be the approval of the minutes, and we have three sets of minutes. We have the February 25th minutes, we have the February 25th executive session minutes, and the March 13th special county operations minutes. Need a motion to put that on the floor. Ms. Duncan and Ms. Williams. Any corrections, comments, adjustments to those minutes? And we need to vote on this one. So Megan's got this. So those who put in your first and second, please acknowledge, and I will ask for a vote. Everybody good on their voting here? Okay. Okay. So we have the vote in. So Member Elsasser is doing an aye verbally. So if we can enter that, please. All right. We had a unanimous of those present. So we will now move to the next item. We have informational items. The first one is our traditional workforce report, so I will turn that over to Administrator Sorrell, or he may have someone else speak on his behalf.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll just quickly walk through it, but I'm going to turn the other two over to HR Director Loftus. Following along, this is on page 9 in the packet. This represents activity through the end of March of this year. The top third deals with applications and hires during the third period or the month of March of this year. It also, as always, gives a comparative analysis to the year prior. The middle third of the page represents the demographics of our workforce. And the bottom third of the page looks at separations during the month of March. Happy to answer any questions of the committee.
Any questions from the committee members? Mr. Phelan.
I think we've asked a couple times, and I just was curious if there's any additional data on separations that is being collected to discuss or dive into deeper.
We always offer those who separate an exit interview. Not everyone that separates takes it. So whenever we can collect data from those voluntarily choosing to have that exit interview process, we obviously collect that data. Off the top of my head, Mr. Phelan, I don't have an idea of how many of our separations actually take the exit interview. Angela's kind of shaking her head as if not very many. That would be the answer. So it's probably a pretty low percentage. But what there is, we can certainly try and glean. I think, separations come in, I think in three forms. One, those that actually retire and start to collect their IMRF pension. Those that separate for a disciplinary reason, and those that separate for other employment because they actually have accepted a position somewhere else. Anecdotally, I know we had a position last month separate from the highway department because they're getting a similar job, which in the private sector with a significant pay increase. That's a unionized position, so it's represented by a collective bargaining agreement, and I know that they're at the table, or we're getting ready to go to the table for that group. So that's pay is sometimes an issue, but it's not always the issue for someone that separates.
Mr. Phelan,
Just more of a comment than a question. When I look at this operations report in the dashboard, I can easily tell you what we're doing with most of the data except separations. And I've asked about it a couple times. I do think that we talk about retention a lot, and there's a dramatic cost with orienting a new employee. So I would just maybe ask the group if we could possibly all collectively kind of start thinking about what we could actually do with separation data to be beneficial with collecting it. I don't know why we would continue to collect it and report on it if we're not doing anything with it.
Okay, that's a fair ask to understand, maybe categorize some of the reasons that people leave, if it was for a position somewhere else, for a higher pay, if it was to relocate, probably a few categories, and then use that data to help us understand retention and maybe adjust our practices around the retention. Is that kind of a summary of what we'd be looking at?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Blair?
How are we gathering that data? Is that a face-to-face interview, a survey? How does that work?
It is a emailed, paper survey that they would fill out.
I'm wondering if it was an online survey or something, would that make it easier, simplifying it to just a few things? Because again, if we're gathering data and not using it, we're not able to gather the data. And I understand that this data would be mixed, right? Some people perhaps would be happy that they found another position somewhere, right? But if it is consistent things like pay, that's something that would be valuable. Even if their supervisors are asked, did they tell you why you leave? It's not perfect data, but it's probably better than nothing, right? So something to think about as you go on.
Okay, that's a fair ask for, I guess I would ask maybe HR to consider what other practices could be put in place to gather, and primarily the resignation category, correct? I mean, obviously, if we do the termination, we know why we terminated. If they retired, we assume they retired because they desired to retire. It's that resignation category is the one that's important. Okay. Any other questions regarding this particular report? Okay. We will now move to the vacancy snapshot, and we'll take it to Ms. Loftus.
Sure. This is the monthly vacancy snapshot. So the green column to the far right, that is the previous month's filled positions and then vacant positions, and then you can see those compared to this month's filled and vacant positions. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from committee members on this? Dr. Blair?
I think you've said this before, but why is there one and an eighth FTE for coroners over their budget?
So because of the difference in the FTE that he has, but then there was also, we're working with finance based upon the additional position that he had before the actual budget book had come out. So it is budgeted.
Does that resolve your question, Dr. Blair? Okay, thank you. Any other questions from committee members on this report? All right, seeing none, then we will move now to the liability and work comp report, and I think Ms. Loftus, you will present this.
Yep, this is our quarterly liability and work comp report. The top half are our liabilities by claim year. So you can kind of see 2024, we still have 8 that are open. And then in 2025, we have 2 of those. And then to the far right, that is the cost by claim year. So you can kind of see where our remaining reserve is and what we've paid to date for each of those liability claims within that specific claim year. And then in the bottom half, it's our work comp claims. So you can see how many we have open in 25. There's 12 of those. And then again, that far right chart shows our remaining reserve, at least as we know of right now, and then what we've paid to date for those work comp claims. Happy to answer any questions.
Again, questions from the committee. Mr. Elsasser.
The top 2 graphs with the liability, that doesn't include the one from the other night, does it?
No.
Okay. That would be in a separate category.
Once it's paid, then it will get reported out.
Okay.
Yes.
Good question. I think this is a very good report for us, the operations committee, to understand liabilities ahead and how we're doing. Again, it's not only looking ahead, but also understanding how we got into those situations and have we put those right actions in place to be proactively address things. And I think we speak of that quite a bit, but it's a good visual quarterly to put out for us. Anything otherwise from the committee on this topic? All right. The next topic is a quarterly workforce demographics. I think Mr. Allen, are you presenting this or is Angela? Or Dr. Allen, sorry.
I've been called worse, no worries there, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, members of the County Operations Committee. Thank you all for having us today. Before you is a workforce demographics year-over-year report to provide some context. About a year or so ago, in concert with the leadership of this committee, we were asked to make some amendments to the monthly report that you all received. One of those amendments was comparing our internal workforce with the most recent census data here within Peoria County so we can see how we're trending. And so the last couple months in collaboration with our Human Resources Department, as well as Human Resource Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Generalist Brittany Graves, they helped us put together this report that you all have in front of you that just demonstrates how we're currently trending as an organization in comparison to the most recent census data. A couple things that stand out to us is we are trending and becoming a more diverse organization. And we've seen some of those slight increases when we look at our Black employees. We've increased from 11% to 11.7%. Our Asian and Pacific Islander employees, 1.5 to 1.9%. Our Hispanic employees has increased from 4.2 to 5.05, and then employees that identify 2 or more races from 2.2 to 2.8. You'll notice that there's 2 charts, and again, I appreciate Brittany and her assistance in that. And this just allows you, again, just to compare how we are trending internally versus our most recent census data. And so that's just for you all to have that in a visual comparison. Looking at our age demographics, we are becoming a younger organization. Our biggest employer group as far as age demographics is considered our mid-career professionals, those who age is between 35 and 54 years of age. They make up nearly half of our employees. And then with those being 45 to 54, making up about 24% of our organization. A couple other things that stand out for us, though, is that age group of 17 to 20. It increased from 1.2% in January of 2024 to 2.83% of March of 25. And we believe that's because of the focus on early career hiring, internships, and some outreach to younger talent pools. So trying to attract those younger demographics. And then we've seen our employees 65 and older decrease from 7.7% to 6% this year. And that is because of retirements and other transitional factors. So in closing, we are becoming a more diverse internal workforce. In comparison to our most recent census data, we'll continue to keep our outreach efforts really promoting career opportunities within Peoria County, ensuring that we are hiring the most qualified individuals with continuing to try to mirror the communities that we serve. And with that, I'll take any questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. Questions from the committee on this? Dr. Blair?
The y-axis on these, that's the percentage of the employees that are whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Elsasser?
If it wouldn't be too much trouble, would we be able to receive the data for the last 10 years, on the minority employees and percentages? I mean, I wouldn't want you to spend like several hours trying to look it all up or whatever, but. Or even like the 10th, like the 15th year, the 10th year and the 5th year ago, just something like that, just.
Sure. I can collaborate with our HR department to see what information is available. We could potentially pull that. We would be able to compare that to the most recent census data, because that was a report we started generating this time last year.
Okay.
But we may be able to find that internal demographic data from the last 10 years. So I'll collaborate with our HR department and provide an update to you, sir.
Because I know everybody probably gets tired of me saying this, but over the years that I've been on the board, I think we've always tried to make a concerted effort to make sure that there was equity within our employees and everybody had a fair chance, and that we treated minorities even above and beyond what we might be expected to do. But maybe these numbers will show that I'm wrong. So.
Okay. Well, good. Any other questions from any other committee members? All right. Dr. Allen, thank you for the update.
Thank you all.
All right. Give me a second here. We will now move to an executive session for two items, labor relations and pending litigation. So I need a motion to go to the executive, Dr. Blair and Ms. Coates. All right, do we need to vote on this, Megan, on the voting tool? Okay, so if you would, please vote to go into what's titled as 4.1 on your voting app. And for those watching along, once we're out of executive, we'll come back and do the rest of the agenda. So if you're watching online or attending in the room, we'll welcome you to come back and join for the rest of the meeting. Get the votes here. All right, we are now back into regular session of the Operations Committee meeting, so welcome back those who have rejoined. We have three resolutions, so we'll start on the first resolution as a workers' compensation settlement. I need a motion to put that on the floor. Mr. Phelan and Dr. Blair. So that is in the packet. I guess any questions before we call for a vote on workman's compensation? All right, we'll call for a vote on that. All right, Ms. Daly, are you able to vote?
I did vote. At
Okay.
least it says that the vote was sent.
Okay, we have it, sorry.
It's all right.
Okay, so Megan's clarified that Member Renault and Member Daly have voted and voted aye, so we have a unanimous vote on that. Thank you. Okay, we will move to the second resolution, which is the corrections contract approval with the FOP. Member Williams is the first, and Ms. Duncan is the second. So we have a contract with the corrections unit to give them a multiple, is it 3-year contract? I'm drawing blank. It's a 3-year contract. And so, and they voted and unanimously, the corrections unit agreed to their terms, to the terms of the contract. So I guess any questions from the committee on our side of this contract? And the details are in the agenda briefing. All right. No questions. We will go ahead and ask for a vote. And we have a unanimous vote. Thank you. All right. The last resolution is the occupational health services bid. We need a motion to put that on the floor. Mr. Elsasser is a first, and Ms. Coates is a second. And I'm going to turn that over to Ms. Loftus to give us a briefing on.
Okay, so as every 5 years, we go out for bid for our occupational health services contract. So this would be the facility that would do all of our drug screens and lift tests for new hires, as well as our workplace accidents and injuries to assess those and track those for our work comp. So an RFP went out. We had 2 vendors that provided a proposal. iWork, who we are under contract with currently, and that contract expires mid-June of this year. And then OSF Occupational Health also bid. So my staff and I looked at a variety of criteria, including cost, but as well as response time, staffing, timelines for billing and updates, making sure that there is an electronic dashboard and ability to get our results and office notes, training opportunities. We called references. We did sit and interview both of the vendors just to kind of get an idea of, the additional services and benefits that they could add. And so after careful review of those, we are recommending to switch to OSF Occupational Health. Looking at their staffing levels, it's definitely a larger staffing level, they have a multiple of locations for after hours, which again helps our second and third shift instead of just necessarily going to the ED. And then again, just some new things such as like nurse case management, as well as a triage nurse where you can, departments can call and kind of say, this is what the injury was. That kind of helps reduce wait times, waiting at the facility. And also, let's say it's an eye injury, they can get that person to care and treatment a lot faster than if they go in and then have to be told to go to, a specialist. So that would be our recommendation. It will require, obviously, some new procedures and processes. So we will, of course, have those details and train supervisors and department heads, so that way they know where to send employees and the process for going through that. So happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions from committee members? All right, this is for a 3-year contract. Oh, sorry, Mr. Elsasser.
Did you say that the competing bidder was our current?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Hmm.
How long have they been with us?
It's been quite a while.
Quite a while.
Hmm.
I mean, I hate to lose them, because if you lose them, then you have OSF, which is, obviously a much larger organization, and you might not have anybody that wants to even come back and bid the next time. But I'll accept the recommendation.
Well, I think I probably, I assume they have other clients in the area, so we're not,
For sure.
We're not
Yeah.
the only one.
We're not the
yeah.
only
Well, I knew we weren't the only one, but I didn't know if they were like a fledgling business, or whether they were
No.
doing well and everything. So,
They're part of a larger organization, so
okay.
that shouldn't be a concern, but
Is-
good consideration.
Is there a price here, or did I miss it? Or
Yes.
which page was it?
So with the bidding, because each individual, like a drug screen is one cost, a X-ray is another cost, plus then there's also the work comp schedule. So we're like overall looking from around $55,000 to $65,000 is what, if we had them in 2024, how that pricing would work. But again, it's going to be based upon how many we have. What type
Yeah.
of injury, what type of service they need.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
based on usage of service, so.
Right.
Okay. Any other questions from committee? One thing I would ask for, just clarification, under the resolution wording, the last paragraph where it says option to renew for up to 2 additional terms, I think it should be 2 additional 1-year terms as it was in the briefing, just so it's clear, because it's a 3-year contract, and then the county has the option to renew twice for 2 1-year terms to get to 5. In the briefing, it spells it out under staff recommendation, option to renew up to 2 additional 1-year terms, which clarifies it. I just asked that we modify the resolution to be clear. Does that make sense, Shauna or Angela? I don't know. I'll ask our attorney. I told her I was going to give her a challenge. Maybe this wasn't she was asking. So, Ms. Hill, we have in the resolution wording, I'm making a proposal to clarify the wording where we say now option to renew for up to 2 additional terms. And I'm asking to change the wording up to 2 additional 1-year terms. Otherwise, it could be perceived as 2 additional 3-year or 5-year terms. It's a clarification. So do I need to make a motion, ask for a motion to change the wording before we approve it? Which I think we would ask for a motion to change the wording. It's right here. In the resolution wording or in the briefing?
Mr. Chairman, I could view that as a Scrivener's correction that we could make between now and the board meeting.
Okay.
I think the intent of what our recommendation is and what the intent of what the committee is doing is clear to staff.
Here it says 2 additional one-year terms. Okay. All right. Yeah, so just from a protocol, we could make a quick motion to amend it and then approve it. That way we're clear. So I would ask, if you look on page, just for clarification, page 21, sorry, on page 22, under staff recommendation, it says renew option to renew for up to 2 additional one-year terms. And then if you go to the next page, which is the public resolution, the last sentence, 3-year term and an option to renew for up to 2 additional terms. And to me, it's not clear when it says 2 additional terms is what that means. It was clear up in the briefing. Yeah, just use the words that were in the briefing to amend it to say up. Yeah, I don't. And again, I don't know from a legal standpoint which stands as what was approved. Is the resolution as why we write a resolution the way we do, or was it the briefing that supports the resolution? Again, it's a tactical item. I want a motion. All right.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, Mr. Phelan's a motion to amend to 2 additional one-year terms. I need a second. Dr. Blair. All right, Megan, we're going to challenge you now to put a voting in place. On page 23 now, page 23, the last paragraph, at the end of that paragraph, it states, for a contract with a 3-year term and an option to renew for up to 2 additional terms. But see, it's confusing because it says a 3-year term, and then it later doesn't define it as additional. I'm just trying to be clear. So we got it on the floor, we have a second. It reads differently, and it's, to me, it needs to be clarified. Megan, are we able to cue this up? Yeah. Okay. So the one that's titled 5.3, we can vote on that. That's the amendment now. So we're voting on the amendment, not on the resolution. Okay. So we have Mr. Phelan as the first, and Dr. Blair is the second on that. Please vote for the amendment. And once Megan tells me all the votes are in, then we will vote for the resolution. Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you. Now we'll have a vote for the resolution, and that will be, Megan, are we going to be able to do it online? I'm taxing her skills here on adjusting on the fly. We'll give Megan a second here. Okay. And all right, so now we can vote for the resolution, so it should be active on your screen. Okay. I didn't mention that here. Yeah, okay. Okay. I should have caught it before the meeting. Fixed it. All right. All right. So Megan, we have the results. Elsasser, you need to vote. Member Elsasser. You wanna? All right. Do we have Member Elsasser on the vote now? Yeah, she moved. Are we good, Megan? Okay. Thank you. Yeah, all right. Thank you, Member Elsasser. All right, we're unanimous on that vote. Now we need to move to a committee action. The committee action is to review executive session minutes, and I'm going to turn it over to our state's attorney's assistant, Ms. Essence Hill, to give us our recommendation. Welcome.
Thank you. It is the recommendation of the state's attorney's office that all previously held minutes continue to be held as the need for confidentiality still exists, and to destroy executive session audio recordings more than 2 years old, except those that relate to pending litigation.
Awesome. And I need a motion now to accept the recommendations. All right, Ms. Duncan and Ms. Coates. We gotta give her credit. She knocked that one out of the park for us. Her first time up. We'll have to tell Jenny she's on. All right. With that, we got a first and a second, and we're ready to vote. So please vote on review of executive session minutes. All right, Member Elsasser votes aye. All right, and that passes unanimously. Thank you. Now we are to public comment. Anybody have input for public comments? Seeing none, we will close public comments. Miscellaneous for the committee members. Any miscellaneous items from the committee? Seeing no miscellaneous, we'll close that and we'll adjourn. Thank you very much.